Wilson, and this is my informative speech, Living with an Addict. This is my audience. Can you show the video? One of the scariest things for a child is being raised by a drug addict. Not only do constant anxiety and anger outbursts surround you, but also to witness your parent, who in your mind is invincible, deteriorate in front of you is one of the most heartbreaking sights. My father is an addict, and his addiction has come at a high price of family, occupations, and mental and physical health. This disease and the collateral damage that goes along with it is one of the greatest travesties in our society today. The more awareness of this epidemic and never-ending devastation, the better chances of people not falling into it, surviving it, and not enabling it. The results will only lead to hurt and broken loved ones, no form of job or way to provide, and poor mental and physical health, and in several cases, death. Through the years, my father's addiction has affected him in multiple ways. One of them has been in his health, mental and physical. While married to my mother, he found out he contracted hepatitis C through the use of dirty needles. Hepatitis C is one of the many infectious diseases associated with drug addiction. In an article from the National Institute of Drug Abuse on September 2014, states that injection drug users, or IDUs, are the highest risk group for acquiring hepatitis C, or HCV, infection and continue to drive the escalating HCV epidemic. Each IDU infected with HCV is likely to infect 20 other people. This disease affects not only the liver, but also many other areas of the body, from toxic buildup in the brain to the skin and eyes, and this is only one of the many diseases caused by drug addiction. Not only has he suffered internally, but his appearance has begun to show proof as well. He has aged very quickly, lost teeth, and become extremely skinny. When I see pictures, he is at times unrecognizable to me and my family. The drug has consumed his being, from his physical health to his mental as well. I recall one fight in particular where my mother was leaving him. He held a gun to his head and continued to do so even after seeing my sister and I watching. For an addict, there is no rational way of thinking. The drug and addiction eat away at any logical thought or process. Along with this kind of aggressive behavior, addicts also suffer from paranoia and hallucinations. There was an instance where my father was screaming at our dog in his bedroom to be quiet, but our dog was outside and not barking. Many isolate themselves and can fall into a deep depression because all they can think of is the drug. These behavioral changes not only are results of drug abuse, but also have an effect on social and occupational abilities. The one thing that is always consistent about a drug addict is their inconsistency. This is especially true in reference to their work and social life. Tim Lanigan, a retired speechwriter for the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, has written that most drug abusers are poor providers. Even those who are employed full-time have far higher job turnover rates than non-users. My father was what you would call a functioning drug addict. He was able to hold the same job for 12 years until his addiction became too much and he lost it due to a failed drug test. He has not been able to maintain a job for more than a few months since that time and is now self-employed. According to the Center for Substance Abuse, in a series written in 2004, neighbors, friends, and coworkers also experience the effects of substance abuse because a person who abuses substances often is unreliable. Friends may be asked to help financially or in other ways. Coworkers may be forced to compensate for decreased productivity or carry a disproportionate share of the workload. Along with work relationships, people suffer just as much. Several of my father's family members, including myself, no longer have a relationship with him. Due to his constant lying, theft, and erratic behavior, he has sabotaged and alienated his friends and family. Relationships with addicts don't normally have longevity, and people regularly shuffle in and out of their lives. The Center for Substance Abuse also wrote, people who abuse substances are likely to find themselves increasingly isolated from their families. Often they prefer associating with others who abuse substances or participate in some other form of antisocial activity. These associates support and reinforce each other's behavior. Most of the people who surround my father are merely drug addicts and dealers who use the disguise of friends to the outside world. The sacrifices are enormous, but none seem to be too much for a fix. The profound suffering of the family continues to exist and be detrimental beyond measures. The spouse assumes so much responsibility for the abuser, from hiding the addiction to picking up their slack. My mother was a perfect example of a typical enabler. She would ignore the addiction and pretend it wasn't there, tolerate the constant mood swings and abuse while raising 3 children. Karen Kleinschmidt writes in her article from 2013, The Effects of Substance Abuse on a Marriage, a sober partner may feel depressed based on an inability to express disappointment, anger, stress, and anxiety. That was exactly what happened in my situation with my mother. She would go through bouts of depression where she was unable to get out of bed and constantly cried. As a child, I never understood what would cause this or why my father would have sudden outbursts of anger and violence. Tim Lankin also wrote, this is very true at times. As we learned of his addiction, everything started to fit together and make more sense. The Center for Substance Abuse Treatment states that the overall mood of the household is decidedly downbeat. This is very true at times in our household. It was either happy and upbeat, but the majority of the time we were walking on eggshells, hoping we wouldn't upset him. Tim Lanigan also wrote, frequently children act as surrogate spouses for the parent who abuses substances. For example, children may develop elaborate systems of denial to protect themselves against the reality of the parent's addiction. Our childhood was very chaotic and unstable in reference to my father's mood. In 2004, Zuckerman published an article titled, When Addicts Have Children, and in it states, parental substance abuse and dependence have a negative impact on the physical and emotional well-being of children and can cause home environments to become chaotic and unpredictable, leading to child maltreatment. Also, that the children's physical and emotional needs often take a back seat to the parents' activities related to obtaining, using, and even recovering from drugs and alcohol. Drug addiction is a ferocious cycle and disease. It can destroy everything in its path in an instant. The cost is very high and affects every aspect of the abuser's life. They sacrifice loved ones, their health and sanity, and ability to provide. In many instances, this is not a disease that is easily overcome, if at all. A counselor once told me that 8 out of every 10 addicts relapse and remain in their addiction. For my father, that statement is very true even to this day. He remains in his addiction with little family and a wife who only enables his addiction. In many 12-step programs, this is called loving an addict to death. My family and I have chosen not to participate or condone this, and until he is clean and sober, it will remain this way. Thank you.